paradise. I have such vivid memories of the word paradise emblazoned emphatically on the door of the birthing room in which our daughter was born. And I remember at the time itself, my wife telling me, "Oh God, what nonsense." And as time went on and I thought about this more, I observed more and more women go through their respective journeys of pregnancy and early motherhood. I realized that a lot of this is really, really exaggeratedly romanticized. Um, and it's tragic, really, and ironic that this entire phase, which really isn't a phase, it's pretty much the rest of one's life, um, can be so cataclysmic, unsettling, traumatic, even mostly because, in my limited understanding, it is for lack of insight and accurate information. There is seems to be a complete raft and flood of over information and resources out there. There are conflicting and contrasting opinions on a whole host of facets relating to this entire journey, whether it's nutrition, how much exercise to get, how much weight to put on or not put on. And then, of course, there are other factors that are entirely beyond the mother or to be mother's control, ranging from strife within the family, the marriage itself, so on and so forth. Suffice to say that it is a very, very arduous period. And I'm so happy that there is somebody like Shivani, our guest today, who is serving as this lighthouse and this beacon of hope, because it is true that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And she has very powerfully named her organization Tigress Clan because she seems to be developing a tribe of fearless women to take on this challenge. And joining us today, I'm very, very happy, is Shivani herself to shed some light around not just the work that she's doing, but very, very erudite methodologies that she has invested a lot of time, effort, and education in developing that serve as the foundation of the work that she does. We are calling this session Empowered Motherhood. This is Talk Therapy brought to you by Driveway Devi. I'm Karthik on behalf of Driveway Devi, and I would like to express my gratitude to Shivani for making the time and joining us, and a very, very warm welcome. Hi.
Hi, Karthik. Thank you for having me here. And before anything else, I'd like to express a lot of appreciation and gratitude for the work Driveway Devi does. Um, I think there are so many lives that you must be impacting via this, even beyond your own knowledge. Yeah, a lot of gratitude and
Thank
appreciation
you.
to
Thank
start
you.
with.
Wonderful. So, Shivani, I shared a perspective, perhaps a very naive one. Now let's hear from the actual expert. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, we would love for you to tell our viewers a little bit about how your organization and your work came to be.
Sure, sure. So yeah, like you heard from Karthik, I'm Shivani. I run this organization called Tigress Clan, and it was born very organically, Karthik, out of my own experience of motherhood. I was working with an MNC, was having a beautiful career with them, had my two babies with them. Till the time there was a certain sort of internal turmoil that started building in me, whether to be with my children or to be at work. And I think one word that I've constantly related with motherhood ever since I became a mother is oxymoron. With everything, the kind of emotions we experience, the kind of wants and desires we have, they are like they could be completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I was. And I kept ignoring it, that feeling, till my body stopped lying, and something inside me broke, and I just couldn't take on and go on anymore. And that's when I decided to pause, be with my children. And some of the mothers ask me this: what gave you the power to leave your job? I said, when it'll hit you like a tsunami. So that's what just happened. It happened very organically. Once I was back with my children, the mom inside me was very much at ease, very happy, but not the ambitious lady inside me. I realized I was so much more beyond just being a mom, beyond just the identity of a mom, beyond just the identity of a worker. I think I wanted a certain rhythm in my life that where I could blend in all the different identities. And that's when I channelized this thirst towards the formation of Tigress Clan. Even the word Tigress Clan, how it was born, there's an interesting story behind it. Um, Somehow I feel all of this has just been coming to me. It's not just me, but it's happening via me. These names came to me. I did a check with people around me. How does this sound? And they said, "Don't you think this is too fierce?" I said, "But I'm done not being fierce."
Are you done being demure?
Yeah, yeah. So, so that's how Tigress Clan was born. And I started researching on this whole topic of motherhood, spoke to mothers, secondhand research. And while there were certain themes that came out, like short on time, short on energy, conflicting desires, oxymoron, there was one constant thing that I noticed when I spoke to mothers, the women. There was somewhere a constant feeling of sadness, that I could sense in women once they became mothers. Either it was a loss of identity, either it was a loss of or rather not being able to fulfill all the desires. Um, so that's when I thought, okay, let me try and develop a solution which is kind of flipping the script around motherhood. And that's when this whole program called Powerful Motherhood was born. In fact, I must highlight the word which I just described, the loss of identity, all of that. That's called matrisense. So
Hmm.
just like adolescence,
Hmm.
when a teen's body is changing, literally
Sure.
the body is changing, environment's changing. They go through these conflicting emotions,
Yep. Yep.
which sometimes don't seem logical, but they are genuine. Matrisense is very similar. The woman's body completely changes.
Hmm.
The environment around her completely changes. She's questioning herself. She's still searching for her earlier self. Where is that part of me gone? Or that part is searching for her. That part is trying to find a
Yeah.
space in the current reality. All of that. Yeah. So that's what matrisense is about. And yeah. So coming to powerful motherhood. So yeah, that's how I came up with this whole topic of powerful motherhood. So I'm a coach and trainer, and I decided to put all of those skills to use here. Uh, there's a certain certification I did called Powerful Life. I'm a Powerful Life certified coach and assessor, and that talks about 6 feminine energies. So I thought to marry that whole concept with my research of motherhood, and that's how Powerful Motherhood was born.
I think I am curious, and a lot of the audience will also be curious to gain a little insight from you around two things, allied things. One is why the focus on power, and second, what were some of these findings that you unearthed as part of your research?
Sure, sure. I'll go with the research part first. So, like I said, I came across different themes, very similar themes that mothers were experiencing. Um, And also there was this whole confusion. So in fact, even by the words that I'm using, you might be the picture that you might be getting is the picture of, it's a juxtaposed picture of different confused emotions. Mothers started, I saw that a couple of mothers saw different shades of motherhood as this is the benchmark for motherhood. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, there was a mom I spoke to who felt because her sister-in-law was working, her mother-in-law was working, her mom was a working mom. Why couldn't she do it? And she pushed herself into it. And then she later on realized, no, this was not meant for me. I did want a pause in my life. Another one who really had the drive, she was very ambitious. She was forced to take a pause because she thought that's how it is. When you become a mom, you just take a pause. And she started missing that ambitious lady inside her. So, one thing that I want to bring to mothers via this platform is, and that I do via my workshops also, that there are different shades of motherhood.
Hmm.
It's up to you. You have the choice what you want to choose.
Certainly.
Yeah. Number one. Um, in terms of other findings, and let me put this across like a question to you. So let's say, Karthik, if you were hiring somebody for your firm, um, or let me make it more generic, given that you're already such a inclusion and diversity heightened personality, you might give me the right answer. So let's say at a firm, if somebody were to be hired and there were two CVs out there, a CV of somebody coming back from a maternity break, and secondly, a CV of somebody who's back from an international assignment, which person will get picked up? We know it's a rhetorical question and we know who will get picked up, right? So that's something I wanted to change and I still want to change. And this is my prototype of the solution that I'm testing out. That what if we flip the script and we stop viewing motherhood from a position of victimization versus from a position of power, externally and internally both. So women themselves, because this was one of my findings, how women feel about themselves. However, and this is what I tell them, motherhood is not a pause, it is power. I take them through a whole framework for this. Even at the workplace, there's actually research that says that a woman, once she becomes mother, is more focused, she's more driven. She will not waste her time here and there. Um, and also, as a personality, she's much more powerful.
So,
Coming to
so, so, Shivani, if I can just quickly come in here, and this isn't to oversimplify your detailed work, but
Sure.
merely in service of understanding it and passing it along in simple terms, is that would it be fair to say that the sum total of your research sort of showed you that in various ways there was a compromised identity that a lot of women were feeling or experiencing. And because it was compromised, it just made sense that you were sort of taking them through an entire detailed process of how to reclaim a power.
Yes, yes. So both, you're right. Both. So one, definitely the mothers. I help them out with this process, in which they're definitely mostly, unless they're very lucky, they'll find themselves in this space of confusion and loss, this period of matrescence. So I help them there, and also the organizations. I also help
Hmm.
the organizations
Right.
in how they can make the workplace better for mothers. There are these very startling data points that we have on the kind of leakage that happens when women become mothers. And we have these great diversity targets for reasons that I don't need to cite. But that will not happen if we're not taking care of this crucial stage of motherhood. So yeah, I help the organizations also, and I help mothers also.
Hmm. Hmm.
And interestingly, Karthik, what I found out, once I started doing these programs, it wasn't just the young mothers who were signing up for the programs. This loss of identity is something that they sail with for quite some time. I have women signing up for the program who have been in corporate for 27 years, and they're at the verge of retirement. And the exact statement from this woman was, Shivani, I don't know what will I be if I stop being a caretaker. Her son is about to go to college. Her parents are very old. And she's like, once I stop being a caretaker, I don't know what I will be. I want to find my identity. So I help with the identity work also. Yeah.
Do you think there is a possibility that with some of these women and ladies, um, they might be sort of inadvertently using identity and purpose interchangeably?
I think purpose has to be the superset. It has to be the North Star. Uh, and I also feel we have multiple identities to ourselves. So keeping that purpose in mind, which is the identity you want to don, it could even happen simultaneously. I think that's where the power lies, the power of choice.
Could it also be perhaps that purpose essentially is identity in action?
Yes, yes, I would say that's a fair way to put it. Yeah.
Tell us now, obviously without sort of breaching any privacy or confidentiality, help us understand by contextualizing, perhaps through a few examples, some elements of your workshop or program.
Okay, sure. Um, I can take you through the whole powerful motherhood
Sure,
framework.
sure.
Yeah. So I've coined it as AWE. Um, so when women become mothers, the first thing that gets axed is their social circle. Yeah, it's us with our thoughts and spiraling thoughts, sitting in a room with a baby, and sometimes even without the baby, just by ourselves. Yeah, people go on with their lives, and our lives have
Mm-hmm.
changed.
Yeah.
And the reason I call it spiraling thoughts is because mothers get this thought that what is happening with my life, and am I useless now, or am I being a good mom? A lot of judgmental thoughts, and there's a reason for that. I'll come to that. Um, so we are getting those thoughts, and on top of that, we start judging ourselves for having those thoughts. Why am I getting these thoughts? It's very normal for mothers to judge themselves, and I get those texts, Shivani. Am I being a bad mom for thinking this? So, yeah. So, the first thing I tell mothers is let's get into a space of acceptance. What are emotions? Emotions are just signals from our body telling us about our needs, wants, and desires, and even boundaries at times. Yeah. Instead of saying, why am I feeling this? Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? It's a very practical way of turning it around. Yeah. And acceptance, and the moment I say this in my workshops and webinars, there's a certain sigh of relief in women, as if something's off their shoulders, and they look at each other. Yeah, it's okay, we all are feeling like that. um, Acceptance creates a lot of space. It gives space to rational thinking. So that's when we move on to the next leg. After emotional regulation, we go to rational thinking. At the start of the workshop, I asked mothers this question: tell me, what emotions do you relate to motherhood? Very start of the workshop. And they'll be like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I just don't know. I keep getting very angry at times, all of these emotions. So when we come to phase two, I ask them this question: tell me some beautiful emotions or moments that you relate to motherhood. And there are these very beautiful answers that mothers share. I never thought I was capable of giving so much love to somebody and also receiving so much love from someone. So then I tell them that, did you notice when I asked you a very neutral question, what is the emotion? You just spoke of the negative emotions. And now I really had to force you to think about the positive. So this is called negativity bias. Our brains evolutionarily are via evolution are designed to focus on the threats and dangers.
Absolutely. I mean, in any emergency situation, our minds directly go to the worst case scenario.
Right. Now, what happens with mothers? We're always thinking of the worst case scenario, and this becomes chronic stress. Yeah. And that is why there are these techniques of mindfulness, being present, gratitude. So that talks about this whole piece of wholeness. So in awe, it's acceptance and wholeness. Let's accept motherhood in totality. It is messy. It is tiring, but isn't it also very beautiful? You know, and just few years down the line, your child will probably just go out of your arms and say, "Mama, let me have my own life." So just enjoy this phase.
So there are aspects of it that are glass half full as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes a
That's the second piece,
yeah.
acceptance, wholeness. And the last piece is
Hmm.
empowered.
Hmm.
That's when I make women realize that aren't they really powerful after they've become mothers. So I tell them that just think of yourself. In fact, it's also even true for men, even fathers. It's just that I'm contextualizing this for mothers.
Of course.
Think of yourself before you had a child. How were you? Weren't we naive? Suddenly, don't we feel this huge sense of responsibility and courage to take care of somebody? Aren't we better multitaskers? Aren't we able to speak our mind out better? Interestingly, we have mothers have this special combination of being compassionate and street smart. We'll not let anything happen to our child, but there's this very heightened compassion in us now. Isn't that what compassionate leadership is? So, end result, we are powerful once we become mothers. And I see the spine straightening up of mothers in the workshop. So yeah, that's just a sneak peek into the work.
I think it's reminding them very factually of certain critical certain critical attributes that have also been birthed in them by consequence of becoming mothers that that sort of extend into various realms and ultimately make them a lot more valuable.
Yes, yes, and valuable. And the very reason I speak of power, Karthik, you asked me that. I think this was one of your questions, right? Why did I choose the word power? One, because it's it stops us from playing on back foot and makes us come on the front foot.
Hmm.
Be it at the workplace, be it with, let's say, our new entrepreneurial journey,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, we stop doubting ourselves, and we start believing ourselves, and that's when we really bloom, right? Yes, yeah. Another piece with power. Now that's interesting. When I say
Hmm.
power, what are the synonyms that come to your mind? What is power as per you, Karthik?
Um, for me, a lot of this boils down to agency, autonomy, choice.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, yes. Uh, yeah, I think you've still taken it a layer deeper than what most people do. Mostly loudness, aggression, authority. That is what is linked with power, and I think that's where the beauty of this whole powerful life work comes in. Uh, it talks about the six feminine powers, which are, and I'll talk about just a couple of them in the interest of time. Um, Rani is how methodical you are. Ma is the whole compassionate power that you have in you. Your charm, your Apsara power, how charming you are. Your innocence, that has a power in itself.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So there are these different six powers. And that's the kind of realization I had when I became this powerful life coach, that aggression is not just the only way. Being loud is not just the only way to get stuff done. uh, as a woman, there are these six beautiful powers that I have, and let me see what is the best I can do with them. Yeah.
That's really, I think that's really beautifully nuanced and, you know, s- really empowering for somebody to recognize.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, finally, as we wrap up, you sort of alluded to it, but let me ask you specifically in whether it was during your research, whether it's whilst you're sort of mentoring and conducting your workshops and programs, what are some uh, more significant or rampant ways in which you see women being psychologically impacted and distressed?
I'll just give you a flavor of, the kind of interactions I have. There could be a mom who'll just text me and she's like, Shivani, do you help mothers with blues? And I'm more of a texter, not a talker. Can we just do WhatsApp? I'll text her, and Sometimes she's just so bogged down in her thoughts, she's not even okay coming out of the shell. So even getting help to mothers sometimes is a challenge, yeah,
Hmm.
given the
Hmm.
state they are in, definitely. So that's definitely something I'd like to say via this podcast. If you are around mothers, check in with them. That really helps. Even if they say no the first time, check in again. You never know, they still might be needing it. um, Depending on the different phases of their journey, let's say if somebody is about to go back to workplace, so this is anxiety is something I definitely notice in mothers there.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that's where workplaces can step in by having dedicated programs, reintegration programs for them.
Sure.
They definitely, so that's the whole difference between equity and equality, right? You need to look at this segment differently. That would be
Hmm.
my message to the organizations. um, and even once women, like I said, even once they're mothers, they go on with their journey, there does come a time where they struggle with what is my identity beyond being a caretaker. Yeah. So there I can go on and on, but just to
Yeah, yeah. I
simplify.
mean, that gives us a good sense. Finally, have you ever encountered a situation where you've unfortunately had somebody sort of so badly off that you've actually said, "Listen, please, sort of, seek help and go to a shrink."
Yes, definitely. In fact, that's a very ethical thing to do as a coach, where if we see coaching is not working for this person, then definitely, it's therapy that I do guide mothers to the path. Yeah.
I'm delighted and relieved to hear that. Wonderful. I'm so happy that you're doing the work you're doing. God alone knows we need more people who come at this from the kind of uh, deep, erudite sort of foundation that you come at it from, very obviously, because a lot of call me cynical, but a lot of stuff that I see out there is just a bunch of fancy, relevant sounding words put onto PowerPoints,
Mhm.
not really backed by anything really robust or solid. So I think that's really important, and you do it so very well. Thank you very much. All the very best,
Thank you, Kat.
and wonderful. Thanks.